Hey guys, Shanti Phillips here on that brand new DVD Blu-ray Tuesday Xiaoming today. Taking a go out today, see what things came out, see what things are on sale. I know today one of the only big releases is Blockers. I know there's a couple other things as well. And Walmart, since it's the first Tuesday of the month, they always change out the actual section and get in a bunch of new stuff. They always have like some new indie horrors and comedies and all that kind of stuff. So definitely look forward to seeing, what they have in that section. Also, at the end of this video is going to be a bunch of new DVD and Blu-ray reviews, so definitely stay tuned for those, for some things I received to review and talk about for you guys. But anyway though guys, let's get going and see what we can find today. Into Target we go. And today, like I said, one of the only big releases today was Blockers, and I talked about this one last week, and I actually thought this was a really fun movie, and I liked John Cena in this movie because he was playing like a different kind of role in this, and it's basically though about these three girls who are friends who have, it's on prom night, and they have a pact to lose their virginity on prom night, but of course, their parents find out about it, and it's kind of them trailing them that night, trying to like make sure that this pact doesn't happen, and they're kind of like getting into all kind of wacky problems throughout the night. This honestly was a really fun movie. It's $22.99 for the Blu-ray of this one. Some of the other ones that released today was 7 Days in Entebbe. I believe I might be saying that incorrect, as well as Beirut, which stars John Hamm. If you guys have seen these ones, let me know how these are. Also, this one movie with Stanley Tucci came out called Submission. I don't know anything at all about this. Same with this one. If you guys have seen this one, let me know how this is. It's only $14.99 for this, as well as this Michelle Pfeiffer, Kiefer Sutherland movie called Where is Kyra? Another one that I don't know anything about. So if you guys have seen those, either of these ones as well, let me know. And these ones are both only $14.99. But other than that in here, I don't really see anything else in here too different today. Like I said, it wasn't tons of stuff, but I'm pretty sure there should be a bunch of new stuff though in Walmart, so definitely interested in seeing what they have in there. But other than that, like I said, not really seeing anything else in here too different today. And one thing I wanted to make sure to mention was, I know right now too in Barnes & Noble they have the 50% off Criterion sale going on. Let me know in the comments below if you guys know how long that goes for. Probably going to go there next week and look for stuff too. Also let me know if there's anything for sure, which is good to pick up for that one. But yeah, like I said, I'm just not 100% sure how long it goes. I think it usually goes like 3 weeks or something like that, I believe. Into Walmart we go. Now I definitely have to keep my fingers crossed so they put everything out in here, because a lot of times the actual section, they don't change it out yet. So I'm hoping that they have, and I don't have to go to a bunch of Walmarts today, but we shall see. But in here today though, like I said, the main thing that came out was Blockers, and their copy is $19.96 here. I already peeked over the section though. They didn't put everything out, so I'm probably gonna have to head to another location. They do have some kind of a exclusive here for $14.96, which is a good price if you guys don't have the first Escape Plan movie that has, Escape Plan 2 as a double pack. This one released last Friday, because this was like not a lot of stuff releases on Friday, so this was like one of the rare things that come out on Friday, but I'm going to talk about this one at the end of this video. Other than that though, they have that Beirut film as well, and that 7 Days in Entebbe, but they only seem to have the DVD of that. Like I said though, the section, there's like a lot of gaps in here, so I'm probably going to go to another location just to see all the stuff that that one has. But some of the ones that they do have was this one here called Treasure Hunters. This one released today, and that's one thing with Walmart. Usually these seem to be exclusives where they have the 2 bonus movies, because if you order these ones off of Amazon, they don't usually come with the second disc with the bonus movies. But other than that in here though, this one released as well, this one called Toxic Shark, which is like a sci-fi shark film that has 2 bonus films on this one as well. If you guys have watched this one, let me know how this one was. Like I said though, there's not a lot of other stuff put out, so I'm definitely going to go to another location just to see the other ones, because The Cure, that released today as well, that stars Ellen Page. But like I said, we're going to head to another Walmart now and see what some of the other things were. Into the second Walmart we go. Well, this location I can definitely tell has, filled this whole section. I would have come here first to this location, but sometimes I've come and, not everything was out at all. Like they didn't change anything. That's why I went to the other one first. But there's a bunch of different stuff today. This one, Don't Grow Up, came out, and they have in here the DVD Blu-ray combo of that. That one's $14.96. I really like this movie a lot. It's basically like something happens to the adults and they start like going crazy, and it's these kids trying to like survive. Like I said, I love this one. This one was really good. They also, another Wolf Cop came out today, and we're talking about this one at the end of this video. And I know that Best Buy, I believe, has like a double feature one, like exclusive to them. Also, Big Legend released today, another one I'll be talking about at the end of this video. And then this one, I believe this was today, this film Demon Hunter. I'm pretty sure this one came out. Other than that, I'm trying to see, oh yeah, the Lullaby. That's another one I'll be talking about at the end of this video. And this one here called House of the Witch. So I don't know anything about this one. If you guys have seen this movie though, let me know how this one was. Other than that though, I believe Eruption LA was today, Immortal Wars, another one I'll be talking about, as well as Jurassic Games. I'll be talking about this one at the end as well. But I'm pretty sure that's all of the major ones. This may have been today, this one, the Griddle House. But other than that though, I'm not seeing anything else too different. And this past weekend I saw two different films. The first one I saw was I finally got to see The Incredibles 2, and I will say though, it really was a great follow-up. I haven't seen the first movie in a long time though, but remember really liking that one a lot. But you know, basically though, this one kind of has like a slight like Mr. Mom kind of vibe to it, because it's about, you know, superheroes, you know, are illegal, and you know, Mr. Incredible and his whole family, you know, they all have superpowers, but this one guy and his sister kind of want to change the view of superheroes by, you know, installing these hidden cameras on their suits and kind of showing the good things that they do to try and, you know, change it so maybe superheroes can be considered legal again. But, you know, he ends up only wanting Mrs. Incredible to go out and, you know, save the day, because, you know, Mr. Incredible's kind of caused all kind of like, you know, messed up and stuff in the past, so he wants to kind of have her be the front of the whole movement, so he has to stay at home with the kids, and so it's him kind of depressed about staying at home and kind of dealing with the kids and having to, you know, deal with their homework and all the sorts of problems and everything. Like I said, I honestly thought it was a really, really fun movie. I will say though, did anyone else have this feeling like the character who was trying to change the view of the Incredibles, his sister, like she kept on reminding me like of an animated version of Lisa Rinna. Like it looked exactly like if Lisa Rinna was animated. I don't know, I just kept on thinking that the entire movie. And the other one that I saw was the movie Uncle Drew, and it stars the main guy who played the friend in Get Out. I thought Uncle Drew was like absolutely hilarious, because it was basically though, he was this guy who was, you know, coaching this basketball team, and he was like trying to win this big street ball you know, basketball tournament, you know, with his team, but his team ended up getting stolen away from him by one of his childhood rivals that like beat him as a kid, you know, played by Nick Kroll's character. And it's kind of like he has to try and get another team together, and he ends up seeing this old man on the court who's Uncle Drew, who was once this huge basketball star who kind of vanished into, you know, obscurity, and he, you know, convinces him to kind of join the team. And Uncle Drew's like, well, I'll do it, but I have to get my old team back together from like the 60s who hasn't, you know, played ball in years. So it's got everybody in it like an old man makeup, like Shaq and everything. I don't know, I just thought it was a really funny movie, like a road movie about him going and trying to get back together the team and everything, and all kinds of wacky encounters and everything. But if you guys saw either of those movies, you know, or saw anything this weekend, let me know in the comments, you know, what movies you guys saw. Into Best Buy we go. And over here though, like I said though, really the only thing in here that they have that's new today is Blockers, and their copy of that one is $19.99. So it seems like Target was the most money for that one, because I think it was $22.99 for that one in Target. But other than that though, in the front of the store, they have the Wolf Cop double pack, and it's $12.99 for that, which is not a bad price if you guys don't have the first movie. It has, you know, its only exclusive Best Buy, you know, double feature of both of them in there. Other than that though, that's pretty much all the new stuff though that I see in here today. So anyway though guys, that's all for this DVD Blu-ray Tuesday shopping video today. Like I always say, if you guys enjoy these shopping videos, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Now stay tuned now for a bunch of new DVD and Blu-ray reviews. And the first one I got here is from Arrow Video, and it's a movie here called The Navigator, a Medieval Odyssey. And this is from director Vincent Ward, who also directed the film Vigil, which Arrow Video recently released as well. This is an interesting movie. I really like the music in this as well. It's got like a cool like chanting kind of vibe. I don't know, really cool music. This is essentially though about this kid. You know, this movie takes place in 1348, and this is around the time of like the Black Plague that's going around. And this kid is having these weird dreams and these weird like visions and things like that, of like these people digging into the ground, and he's seeing like fire, and he's seeing like all kinds of really weird trippy things that he's seeing. And it's basically though, you know, this village is like really paranoid about the Black Plague coming to their village because one person just had left, kind of went out into the world to see what's going on. And he saw nearby that all the death that was going on. This boat recently came by with all these really sick people who all had the Black Plague. And it's essentially, though, they know that it's going to come to their village any day now, and they're like paranoid, and they just know that there's nothing they can do. But they come up with the idea of going to this church and trying to give an offering, and hopefully that will help, you know, keep the Black Plague from coming to their area. But this kid is like seeing things going on, and he's like tells them, if we dig into the ground, that will help, because that's what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing things happening, you know, in real life now that I've actually been dreaming. And he's telling them, so they end up digging into the ground, and they end up basically traveling into the future, into the 80s, you know, and it's basically, you know, these characters, you know, they're from 1348 in the future, and they're like seeing cars, and they don't know what's going on, and they're still trying to find this church, and it's essentially about their, you know, quest. But like I said, this is actually a really interesting movie. It has on here though a documentary on the filmmaker that was from 1989, you know, for made for New Zealand television, talking about the filmmaker on here, as well as a theatrical trailer. Really looks good as well. It also has in here a booklet, you know, with pictures and stuff like that about the making of the film and all that kind of stuff. Really cool thing that Arrow includes in their releases. The next one here, I just want to let you guys know these ones are available from Arrow Video. this one is a movie here called Go to Hell, Bastards. This movie is from 1963 here, and it has the, you know, 1080p transfer on this one, as well as an interview with film historian and Japanese cinema expert Tony Rayans on here, as well as a gallery of original production skills on the film. It also has in here a, you know, booklet with some pictures and stuff like that about the film and the making of and all that kind of stuff in here. Always, like I said, cool that Arrow includes these in their releases. And the last one from Arrow Video, and this one is from the Arrow Academy line, is a double feature here that has two films: Woman is the Future of Man, and A Tale of Cinema. And in here, though, this has a bunch of different features. It has, you know, some new introductions on here. It also has a, you know, introduction from Tony Ryan's as well. It also has an introduction here with, you know, director Martin Scorsese talking about the film. It has the making of the film, a featurette on here, a bunch of cast interviews on this, original trailers. So a really cool release. Like I said, just want you guys know these ones are available. And also in here too, it has some pictures and stuff like that about the making of the films as well in here. It's some really cool releases. Like I said, I want to let you guys know these ones are available. Now, the next one here is from Lionsgate. This is one I was really interested in seeing, and this is Escape Plan 2. You know, it's called Escape Plan, is it Hades? I mean, Escape Plan 2 Hades. This one, you know, actually released on a Friday on DVD and Blu-ray, and, you know, went on demand as well. And this one, though, Stallone, like, isn't, like, in the movie as much. He's kind of, like, he's in a decent amount of the film. But essentially, though, this is basically about, you know, if you guys don't know the story, Stallone's character is basically goes into prisons and kind of tests how, you know, secure they are, and sees like how you could break out of these prisons. And he has a group of people that are kind of working for him. But what ends up happening, though, is one of the people who works for him ends up getting kidnapped, and he gets put into this, you know, this really, you know, out there prison where, like, the warden of this prison, and it's like a real secretive prison, he makes all the inmates basically fight. He basically goes and, like, says, inmate number 158 and 617, you have to fight. And then, you know, if they fight and see who wins, and whoever wins in this, you know, super modern prison ends up going into this kind of like sanctuary place. It's kind of like where they can write and draw for 2 hours. But essentially, though, he ends up putting them in here, and people that Stallone's character knows are ending up, disappearing. And it's basically about Stallone's character trying to figure out how he's going to get into this prison and, figure out how to get the person that's in there, one of his team members that works for him, out of this prison. And it's essentially about the whole thing. Bautista's character is kind of helping Stallone as well along the way. Really like Bautista in this movie. I thought that the movie is very, very different than the first film. It's got a very different vibe with what's going on. It's not as much like the prison was kind of cool, but it wasn't as cool as the first film, I didn't think. But it really sets up for a third movie, which I know is happening. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go with the third film. But like I said, Stallone isn't like the forefront of this movie, but then he becomes in way more of the movie. But it's like I said, it's not as much about Stallone. But it has on here though the making of the film, as well as some featurettes on here talking about the look of the film, as well as extended cast and crew interviews on this one as well. But still a really fun movie. Not perfect all around, but I still, really like, always been a fan of Stallone. And I like these concept of these prison films. He did one like Lock Up, I think it was called, or Locked In. I don't know. I always like things with him in prison. And when it comes to the prison stuff that he does go into, there is some good stuff on here with that. The next one, though, is from Lionsgate. And this is one I was really interested in seeing. And I honestly, this movie's got really mixed reviews. But I really got into this movie and really loved it, especially Milla Jovovich. I loved Milla Jovovich's character in this movie. I thought she was really, really cool. And I don't know, I like this movie because it kind of has the vibe of like the Mad Max kind of movies that they were making. Similar to style Mad Max movies that they were making, that Italy was making, in the 80s. It's got those kind of vibes, like Warriors of the Wasteland, those kind of things. It's got that kind of vibe to this movie. It's a movie here called Future World, and I also really love the cover on this. It's a really cool, crazy image. It's basically about James Franco's character, who's like the leader of these like crazy, like bad characters who are kind of going through the wasteland. This is a futuristic movie where the world is like all falling apart, and it's got a feel of like Mad Max mixed with a water world and all of those kind of like post-apocalyptic things. But he's kind of going around wrecking havoc, and he ends up basically the robots that were created, this android, superhuman like androids, kind of is like what caused the downfall of the world. And he finds this one robot that he awakens in this factory, and it's kind of like he has plans for her, and he's like using her. He has this like weird device he's talking to. He's like, don't do this, do that, kill the person. He's like kind of telling them what to do. But essentially, though, the main plot, though, is James Franco's character. But then the other main plot is about this kid whose mother, played by Lucy Liu, who's really sick. This kid who lives in this really nice area. It's like the nice area where everyone kind of is living, that the Franco's character has no idea exists. And he basically has to try and find a cure to help his mother. So he's going on this quest with the other people that are going along with him to help find this cure for his mother. And of course, he ends up running into James Franco's character. And James Franco's character, kind of like does terrible things to this kid and, tries to kill him and everything. Tries to get his robot to do it, but then the robot turns, and essentially the whole big plot of this movie is this kid and this robot on the run, because the robot, for one reason or another, helps this kid. But like I said, when it comes to Milla Jovovich's character, this is she was so cool in this movie. A lot of this movie was filmed in like the Salton Sea kind of area, so it has a really cool look. It's not perfect or anything, but I really like post-apocalyptic movies, and Snoop Dogg's in this movie. Rumor Willis is in this movie. This movie, like I said, was really fun. Over the top, yeah, definitely, but fun and really crazy. This has on here, though, behind the scenes featuring interviews on here with James Franco. James Franco was also one of the directors on this one. The next one here is from Lionsgate as well. Another one. This one gets a top recommendation on here, and it's a movie here starring Charlie Plummer and Chloe Sevigny and Steve Buscemi, and it's a movie called Lean on Pete. And this is a movie, I didn't know much about this one going into this movie, and really got into this one, but it's a very, very, gloomy movie, though, very sad. And it's essentially, though, about this kid who ends up, you know, he's kind of trying to help. His father is kind of like not doing so well in his life, and like his father is kind of an alcoholic, and they don't really have a lot of money and everything. And this kid ends up meeting Steve Buscemi's character one day when the kid is going on a run, because he always every day goes running, and he, you know, runs by this area where there's these horses, by this horse track. And Steve Buscemi's like, hey kid, can you help me with something? And basically, though, this kid, you know, becomes friends with Steve Buscemi, and he kind of, Steve Buscemi is kind of paying him to go and help him with his horses, and he ends up meeting this horse named Pete that he becomes, you know, really has this relationship and really becomes friends with this horse, and like loves, you know, helping this horse, and it's kind of like the one positive thing in his life. And you know, Chloe Sevigny's character is a jockey for the horse, and she's like kind of gets a lot of like slack in her life and stuff because she's a female jockey, and it's all kind of stuff with that. The movie, though, totally takes a different tone, you know, halfway into the film. But a big thing happens though with this horse, and you know, there's also some really bad stuff that happens with the kid's father. But everything that can go wrong goes wrong in this movie, but one big thing is going to happen to this horse, and it kind of is what makes this kid make this big decision, and that's when the movie really, really picks up. And I don't know, I thought this was an outstanding movie. Like I said, I didn't know what to expect with this movie at all, and it really takes some really, you know, crazy turns. A bunch of character actors pop up in here as well. I'm trying to think of who else was in here. Steve Zahn. Steve Zahn has a really great role in this movie as well. Like I said, check out the trailer for this one. Honestly, though, top recommendation. Really, really, really love this movie. This has on here, though, a making of as a movie as well. And this is also an A24 title as well. A24 always love their stuff. And the next one here is from Lionsgate as well. It's a movie here called Chappaquiddick. And this is basically, you know, this stars Jason Clarke, Kate Mara, Ed Helms, and Bruce Dern. This is essentially, though, about Senator Ted Kennedy, and this is, you know, right around the time when he was planning on running for president, and that was kind of like his big thing that he was going to be doing. And the one night he's on the island of Chappaquiddick, you know, he's there for this party, this kind of crazy party that he's always kind of throwing these parties on this island, and he ends up, you know, taking the one woman played by Kate Mara, who is going to, it kind of like works his campaign and everything. He's planning on driving her off of the island to get back off of, because it's like this small island. But he ends up seeing this cop, and he's really drunk, and he ends up going the wrong way, and he ends up driving off of this bridge, and the car ends up sinking into the water, and Kate Mara's character ends up dying. There's a lot of mystery behind this whole thing, too, because it's like, even to this day, no one knows exactly how Ted Kennedy got out of this car. Like, it's like no one knows at all. It's like this real crazy mystery about how this happened. But essentially, though, he ends up getting out of the car, and Kate Mara's character ends up dying. This is right in the beginning of the movie. That's the whole plot of this film. And essentially, though, he doesn't go and do what he should do. He goes and kind of wanders back. He finds a boat, goes back to land off of the island. He doesn't tell anybody right away, but then he like tells the people from his campaign about it, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. And you know, his father, played by Bruce Dern, is saying alibi, and he's basically saying, you know, you're going to ruin everything if you like let this out that you did this. And he's like originally going to tell the cops, but then he's like backpedaling his whole story, and it's kind of like this whole thing about what they're going to do and how they're going to swing this around and make it look like this was, you know, more of an accident than it really was, and why he didn't tell when he did, you know, right away, and he was confused. And it's all about the whole thing that was going on. Really, really well acted. Jason Clarke, you know, did a really good job in here playing, you know, Ted Kennedy in this. Honestly, though, it was a pretty interesting movie here. This has on here, though, some featurettes on the movie, as well as a featurette on the editing of the film. This one here is from Lionsgate. It's a movie that Lee Mates Macy directed. Another one that I really liked that stars Rosario Dawson, Nick Robinson, you know, who is from Love, Simon. T.I. is in this movie. Kathy Bates. Really loved Kathy Bates' character in this movie. You know, she's like a woman who runs this art store. It's basically about this kid who ends up, he has this rare heart condition where like his heart will beat like super, super fast. So he has to do anything he can to be as calm as possible. So he doesn't really do anything much. He's kind of tries to be as mellow and chill as possible, because if his heart beats too fast, he ends up having to go to the hospital, and he could die if it was really to the point of like heart attack material. But he ends up meeting Rosario Dawson's character one day on the beach, and his heart's like beating like crazy because he really likes her. And then she ends up having to take him to the hospital. And after, when he sees her there, he's like becomes obsessed with her. So he's kind of watching her and like kind of following her, and sees her going to this AA meeting. So then he kind of makes up the story that he's an alcoholic and goes there. And then he sees Kathy Bates, who he works with at the art gallery that she owns. So he kind of gets himself in this whole situation where he has to pretend like he's, an alcoholic. And he kind of just comes up with this whole character of like this cool guy. And when he's around Rosario Dawson, he plays this cool guy and plays it up, because like someone that came into the AA was like this real cool kind of guy, and he's like mimicking him. And it's kind of like this whole thing about him trying to sway Rosario Dawson's character and get her to like him, even though she's a lot young, he's so much younger than her. And then it's kind of all kinds of stuff going on. Like I said, I like this movie. I thought this was actually a really, really fun character piece about what was going on. Some really funny stuff, some really sad stuff as well in this, about Rosario Dawson's ex-husband and everything, played by T.I., and some real crazy stuff going on in this movie. I thought William H. Macy though did a really good job directing this one though. The next one here is from Lionsgate. This is a movie that's a Lifetime film. This was really sad, and actually Elizabeth Smart is actually in this movie. Kind of it cuts to her, talking about her, experiences and what happened to her, and like after you see like the reenactment stuff of what was going on, she kind of says, well, yes, this happened and this happened. But this is I Am Elizabeth Smart, and this is the movie all about the kidnapping of Elizabeth Smart and kind of what had happened to her. And if you guys don't know, she ended up getting kidnapped one day from her house at night, and he basically says, if you don't come with me, I'm going to kill your whole family. And it's Skeet Ulrich plays the kidnapper. And I always think of him, from, of course, Scream, and he was on that show Jericho, a bunch of different stuff, but he plays the kidnapper, and it's him and then his wife, and basically Elizabeth Smart's character gets taken out to these woods, and is kind of like forced, all this horrible stuff that goes on, and terrible stuff, terrible stuff going on. If you guys don't know the story, though, this basically covers the whole thing in total detail about what was happening to Elizabeth Smart. And like I said, it kind of cuts back to the real Elizabeth Smart, telling her side of what happened. And, she was behind the whole thing with production and making sure that there wasn't like stuff that was kind of changed around, or like, when you kind of, sometimes if you do a story on things, they're not always like authorized and things like that. This was fully authorized by her accounts of what had happened and everything. But I thought this was actually really, really well put together and everything. Really good acting on this. But like I said, just a really sad, all of what's going on, but really, like I said, really well done. The next one here is from Paramount, and this is the Emily Blunt film starring Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, which he directed this movie as well, and this is A Quiet Place. This is the 4K Ultra HD edition of the film, and this is basically, though, set, something had happened in the world, and half of the world, pretty much everyone is gone. It's just this family that's left, and it's something where if you make any noise, there's something out there, some sort of a creature or something will kill you, and you immediately be like whisked away and eaten and killed by some sort of a creature. And it's all about this family surviving in this world now, and they have all these kind of ways that they figure out how to make no noise whatsoever. They put down like things on the ground, to try and cover up the sound. They have to they basically are signing. The one kid is actually deaf, and it was actually played by an actress who was deaf in real life, and it's all dealing with sign language and all of that kind of stuff. So it's like they have to find ways of talking. They have to whisper everything. It's like, terrible situations that they are in, and like they literally can make no noise whatsoever, and if they do, it's not going to be good. It's basically they have to figure out everything in the house. They have to kind of retrofit things to make no noise. It's a very interesting concept. I thought it was actually really, really well done, and a lot of tension of what's going on, because like if one sound happens, they have to figure out how they're going to kind of get away and be as quiet as possible. I don't know, really, really well acted. I thought Emily Blunt did a really good job in this movie as well. Same with John Krasinski, as well as the kids in this movie. but a very, very, like I said, super, super tense film. This has on here, though, a making of on here, talking about creating the sounds of this world as well as a featurette on the visual effects. But 4K wise, though, it's a really, like, a lot of the movie is set at night, so a super, like, dark, atmospheric look film. So, you know, like I always say, the HDR is all about the contrast levels and the brightness levels, and this movie definitely is a super contrast film, like I said, since a lot of it is at night. So definitely benefits for 4K, but definitely one if you guys are, you know, fans of like these kind of films. And also it's actually one too that I think stands out, because I don't feel like there's been a lot of movies that are exactly like this that I can think of. They're all about having to be like totally silent like this, but definitely one for sure to check out. The next one here is from Sony. This is a movie here called Finding Your Feet. This is about a woman who was married to her husband, I think it was for 40 years, and like, you know, they had like this, they were basically celebrating their anniversary, and she ends up walking in on the husband with this other woman, and it turns out this husband has been having this affair, and you know, she ends up leaving him. And she doesn't kind of know what to do because she's always been with this husband for 40 years. So she ends up going and moving in for a while with her sister. And her sister is kind of like real like free spirit. She's always out doing things. She's really like kind of living life. And this other woman, you know, the woman whose husband was cheating, she kind of is kind of not doing a whole lot. Kind of like has a kind of a easy kind of life, mundane kind of. And, you know, she kind of is basically, the sister is trying to get her out to do things, trying to see if maybe she could meet somebody else. And she ends up going to this, the sister goes to this dancing kind of class. It's essentially, though, about her getting her sister to go, and reluctantly, to this dancing class. And it's kind of about her kind of like suddenly starting to kind of live life and starting to do things. And that's essentially what the movie is. It's a really good, like, feel-good kind of film, you know, character piece, comedy about, you know, this woman finally kind of trying to recover from what happened with her husband and cheating on her, and going out and actually living life, and, you know, seeing what can happen too at this dance. And it kind of like starts leading into things. But it's actually a real, like I said, a really fun movie here. And the next one here is from the Criterion Collection, and this is the Ingmar Bergman film, The Virgin Spring. And this is the film, too, I always think of this because this is the movie that inspired the story and a lot of the concepts of what was happening in the film of, you know, Wes Craven's Last House on the Left. This movie, of course, is a high art film, like really, really well shot. Very, very different movie, but, you know, a lot of the similar kind of stuff that happened in this happened in Last House on the Left. Also, I have to say, too, this is a brand new 2K transfer of this movie. Looks amazing. This is essentially about this girl. This is set, you know, in, I don't know what year exactly this is set, but this is basically, though, about this girl who was sent to deliver these candles out to this church. But she ends up getting attacked by these terrible people out in the woods and raped, and all this terrible stuff ends up happening, and she ends up getting killed. And, you know, it's essentially, though, about these killers end up at the house of the parents of this girl. And, you know, it's kind of like he's like feeding them and everything, and it's like, it's kind of a revenge movie. That's what it is, about getting revenge on these people and what he's going to do. Like I said, like, that's a big story to Last House on the Left, and that's what happens in this as well. But of course, this was from 1960. Last House on the Left was 73 or 72, 73, I think. But this was a really, really, really well done movie, though. Very, very different, of course. Like I said, though, it has on here the 2K restoration. It has a commentary track on here from 2005 with Ingmar Bergman, as well as interviews with the actors from 2005. This has on here, though, an alternate English dub soundtrack, as well as a booklet in here with some facts and stuff like that, and pictures about the movie. But definitely one that you guys have got to check out. Like I said, too, really amazing transfer. Really, really great movie. The next one here is from Mondo Macabro, and this is a movie, I always really liked this movie. They made a remake of this movie called Come Out and Play, I think. I don't remember exactly what year it was. Maybe it was 2012 it came out. But the original one was a much cooler movie, though. And this is Who Can Kill a Child? It's about this couple that is going on like a trip, and they're going to this island. And they end up getting to the island. They're like, what is going on? There's like nobody here. They're not seeing anybody. They're hearing like weird noises. And they start to notice like these kind of children kind of messing around and like scurrying around the island and like running off and things like that. Essentially, though, it's about this couple who are on this island. And, you know, the kids, did something, of course, to the adults. And these, these couple are basically trapped on this island. There's no way to get off of here, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to get off. And it's, of course, who can kill a child, and can they? And that's essentially what this movie is. But this is an excellent movie, really, 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 intense movie, but a really cool movie. Like I said, it inspired, or they made the remake of this one, which, like I said, was okay. I liked it a little bit, but this was a much better movie. This has on here, though, a brand new 4K transfer of the film from the negative. This has on here a documentary about the film, interview with the cinematographer on here, interview with the director, as well as a commentary track on here. This has the alternate Island of Death opening sequence. This has English and Spanish audio choice on here. It has an alternate US dub on this one as well, but definitely one you guys have got to check out. Like this one a lot. The next one here is from RLJ Entertainment, and this is The Secret of Wolf Cop. This one is another Wolf Cop, and this one actually, Kevin Smith is in this movie playing the new, mayor that's like the kind of the temporary mayor, and he has a really funny stuff in this movie. This is essentially, though, about this cop that turns into a wolf, like the full moon, and it's kind of about he's just kind of defending, going out and getting the bad guys and everything, and of course there's this one bad guy who's trying to do something bad in the town. But there's some really great old school special effects of him turning into the wolf and then attacking the people and killing the bad guys and everything. And it's also all kind of alternate, odd stuff, because they're always noticing too that the one cop, who's the wolf cop, is always never around when the wolf cop is around. So it's kind of questioning who is the wolf cop. And the one person that wolf cop works with, she's in on the whole thing and kind of knows and is kind of mad that he's always going out and turning into the wolf cop and everything. It's just a really crazy, movie about a wolf cop who's taking down the bad guys in the town and all the kind of crazy stuff that happens. This has on here, though, the making of another wolf cop. Has a thing on here about meeting the cast, featurette on the special effects on this movie as well, and as well as a featurette about shooting, the film as well. The next one here is from Vega Baby, and it's a movie here called Big Legend. And this has in here Amanda Weiss, Lance Henriksen, and Adrienne Barbeau have cameos in this movie. This is a movie called, like I said, Big Legend. This is basically, though, about this couple who went out camping in the woods, and the guy is basically proposing to his girlfriend out there, and at night, though, they hear sort of weird stuff going on. They hear scurrying around, and of course, though, some kind of creature, Bigfoot, attacks and kills the girlfriend. And then it's 12 months later, and the guy who didn't get attacked and he survived, and he kind of knows something weird happened. He's gets out of the psych ward, and he's can't kind of wrap himself around what happened, and he feels like something, they're trying to tell him that it was a bear, and they're saying you're imagining things, and you have survivor's guilt that you survived and your girlfriend died. And he essentially wants to go back out to these woods and kill whatever it was out there. So it's kind of about him on the journey to get out there to kind of find what it was that killed his girlfriend, so he can finally kind of put to rest what had happened to him. I thought this was actually a pretty cool movie. If you guys like Bigfoot movies and kind of kind of a quest to attack and find Bigfoot, definitely check this one out here for sure. And this one has on here a theatrical trailer as well as a photo gallery on this one. And the next one I got here is from BBC, and this is Doctor Who, the complete first season here with Tom Baker. This is technically the complete first season of the 4th series of the show, but if you guys don't know what the Doctor Who series, every few years, and it's, depends, some actors portray Doctor Who longer than others, but a new actor comes in to take over the role of Doctor Who, and this is the complete first season here with Tom Baker, who is the 4th Doctor on the show. And if you guys don't know the series, it's basically about the character of Doctor Who traveling through time, going through other dimensions, and fighting creatures and aliens and all kinds of stuff. It's a really, really fun science fiction series. Now this one here, it's not in full HD. It's upconverted, and definitely looks better than the show has ever looked. And it also has newly remastered sound as well. But really, really looks good. Definitely, if you guys are a fan of this show, definitely worth upgrading for this edition too, because it has tons and tons of new features on here. It has a whole bunch of stuff. Some of the stuff it has, though, is documentaries on some of the episodes. has a brand new 30-minute candid 1 hour interview, with Tom Baker talking about the show. It's got on here some original updated special effects for one of the episodes on here. It has a TV version of, movie version of one of the episodes that hasn't been seen since 1975. So tons and tons more stuff on here, but a really, really cool release if you guys are a fan of the show. The next one here is from E1, and this is a movie here called The Jurassic Games, and this is a really fun movie. It's got the vibe of like a Hunger Games, The Running Man, Maze Runner, that kind of feel. And it's basically though about these prisoners who are on like death row, and it's basically they put like virtual reality things on their face, and they get put into a virtual reality game. It's like a real popular thing that people are watching and stuff. Like I said, that's why it has the Hunger Games kind of vibe. But it's basically though, these inmates are put into this virtual reality world where, only one of them can survive. So they're in there trying to kill each other, going after each other, but they also have dinosaurs in there, and it's like in this like big field, woods kind of area, and they're all getting like attacked by dinosaurs. So there's real crazy stuff going on. It's essentially though, only one can survive, so they're all going after each other. They also have the threat of these dinosaurs coming after them. So it's all kinds of really crazy stuff. It's actually a really, really fun movie. It has on here though deleted scenes. It has a director's commentary track on here, as well as a behind the scenes montage. Like I said, if you guys are fans of things like Hunger Games, definitely check this one out. It's got that kind of vibe to this. The next one here is from E1 as well. This is a movie here called The Lullaby, and this is about this, this girl who, recently had ran away from home, and she ended up getting pregnant, and, she just gave birth to her first, child. And, she's back living with her mother, and her mother is, like, acting really weird, right? Also the girl, right when she gave birth, is, like, really depressed, in a really bad mood about everything, because of what's happened, the fact that she's back with her mother again, and her mother is giving her all sorts of problems, and she's giving her all kinds of grief and everything, and she's also, like, acting really strange, and saying, you're gonna learn and all this, and you're gonna learn from this, what this happened to you, and, she's singing these weird lullabies and stuff, and essentially, though, this girl who just gave birth starts to see like really weird things, weird like visions of stuff, really creepy stuff is happening to her. She starts hearing weird things, and like I said, her mother is acting really odd, and she has like this feeling that something is, or some sort of an entity or something is coming after this child. It's a very, very creepy movie. Some really, really creepy visuals on this one. The next one is from Troma. It's a movie called Spiderlings, and this is a musical film, crazy musical. The one actor on here too is who played one of the Oompa Loompas in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original film. And this is basically though, it's kind of about like this couple who is basically kind of trying to like, they're sort of like they're dealing with like problems with their money and stuff, and they're not having any money, and it's kind of they're working at this kind of weird nightclub, and like the like I said, the one from Willy Wonka works there, and he's kind of like demanding and giving them all kind of problems. But essentially though, it sort of deals with like this spider, and it's kind of like the spider is kind of going to help them along, and it's like really weird stuff that happens, and there's like really great musical scenes though in this nightclub, and a lot of the stuff you find out about the spider, Lloyd Kaufman is acting in this movie, and he kind of gives advice and stuff like that in this. Like I said, though, like if you guys like musical kind of horror comedy musicals, check this one out here. And of course too has a great introduction. That's one thing that Troma always does, is intros to their movies, and with Lloyd Kaufman. I always love that. That's a really fun thing that they always have done ever since I can remember the beginning of when they were releasing DVDs. This has on here though, of course, like I said, the introduction by Lloyd Kaufman, behind the scenes interviews, and a theatrical trailer for the movie as well. This one here is from SRS Cinema. It's a movie here called House Shark. This is a crazy movie because it's basically about this dad who's like, leaves the kid at the house with his babysitter, and the babysitter's like hearing weird things in the house, and she goes to the bathroom, and this shark kills her on the toilet, and it's like somehow there's a shark in this house. And then it's like after this happens, the father wants to sell off the house because he's like so shooken up by what he saw, because the girl was all torn up and killed in the house, and he can't deal with it. So he's now sleeping outside of the house in the backyard in a tent, and he's like, the house won't sell. He doesn't want anyone to let anybody in the house because it's still a giant mess because the body's still in there and everything. It's all big mess, but he's trying to figure out how he's going to sell this house because he really needs the money, and otherwise too his ex-wife is going to take the kid away. So he's figuring out how he's going to basically get rid of this shark in the house, and become sort of like a parody of Jaws about these people going in there trying to take down the shark. It's a really, really crazy movie. Some really cool shark like effects and stuff like that in the house, and a really cool weird setting to have a shark in the house. And it has on here though a commentary track on here, bloopers and trailers on this one as well. The last one here is from Worldwide Multimedia here, and it's an anthology horror film called Die Geist Flesh Eater. And this is basically though all the kind of the segments on here all sort of deal with kind of food and like food related kind of things, essentially like cannibals and all that kind of stuff. And it's like a guy who was kidnapped and the woman is like eating him little by little, a guy who's like in a trash can being tortured and to be eaten, like a killer pizza, all kinds of stuff. Like I said, it's all dealing with food related kind of things with cannibals and all that kind of stuff. So if you guys like anthology films and things that all deal with kind of like a lot of cannibal kind of stuff going on in this, but like of course some segments are better than others, but there were some really, really fun segments on this one for sure here. But anyway though guys, that's all for the review portion of this video. Thanks again for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later.